Hello everyone, and welcome to 2023's first episode of County Perspective. I'm very excited to kick off the fourth consecutive year of hosting this show. For all of you who have watched County Perspective over the years, let me start off by saying thank you for tuning in. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, County Perspective is a show that focuses on Frederick County government, local programs and events, and the Frederick County community. I'm your host, Brandon Rosa, and thank you for joining us. Now, let's dive right into our top news stories. This year marks Frederick County's 275th anniversary. Celebrations are planned throughout the year. Festivities started with the annual New Year's Eve key drop and candle lights on the Creek event at Carrol Creek Linear Park in downtown Frederick. Frederick County's 275th Planning Committee partnered with the Civitan Club of Frederick in sailing through the winter solstice to host a kickoff celebration. Frederick County's year-long 275th anniversary celebration will commemorate nearly 3 centuries of history and culture with special community events and programs. To learn more, follow the 275th social media accounts. You can also sign up for text alerts about other 275th anniversary events and information. Text FC-275 to 888-777 to receive updates. Kite, a Gilead company, announced plans to expand its global cell therapy supply chain operations in Frederick County. This year, the California-based company will begin construction on an approximately 70,000 square foot centralized raw materials warehouse that will serve Kite's global manufacturing network. The expansion will be located adjacent to its existing facility in the Urbana Corporate Center. The expansion will bring an additional 100 jobs to the area, with the company expecting to employ more than 500 full-time staff between its 2 facilities by the end of 2026. Frederick County Executive Jessica Fitzwater invites the public to join her at one of 5 town hall meetings in January to help her set priorities for the county's next budget year. A meeting is scheduled in each of the 5 council districts. People can attend whichever meeting is most convenient for them. They are not limited to the meeting in their home district.
To me, it was really important to get out into different parts of Frederick County during this time where we're collecting comments and suggestions about the budget, because I know that people's experiences living in Frederick County are really different depending where they live. We're very lucky to live in the biggest county in the state of Maryland with so many opportunities, but that does mean that priorities differ from area to area, and this way people don't have to come to Winchester Hall. They can go somewhere closer to home, and I can have an opportunity to hear directly from residents what their top priorities are as I'm crafting this year's budget.
The first 2 town halls took place in Brunswick and Urbana. There is still time to attend one of the remaining meetings. Visit frederickcountymd.gov to view the upcoming schedule or to submit written comments about the budget. Now it's time to talk about FCG-TV's Destination Frederick County. In the latest episode, we ventured to beautiful Carrol Creek to learn more about the cool little boats that appear there just before the holiday season. Let's check it out.
Frederick County is home to one of the most unique winter light displays in the world. Each year, you'll find more than 24 lighted boats on the chilly waters of Carrol Creek Park in downtown Frederick. But this is more than just a beautiful display of light, art, and water. Discover how this volunteer-led effort, born out of a garage, turned into one of Frederick's must-visit attractions, and how it raises thousands of dollars for local nonprofit organizations.
Sailing through the winter solstice is a festival of light ships that light up the Carrol Creek Promenade in Frederick between the weekend before Thanksgiving and typically the first or second weekend in March. It's an event that started in 2016 with 1 boat. It has grown to about 30 boats. It's really an event to bring people down and to have something interesting to look at during the holiday season and beyond. It's also evolved into a fundraiser to help support about 30 or 40 local 501c3 charity organizations. We do have a competition for what's called Best Boat. Best Boat Award goes to the boat that raises the most money for a charity. So last year and the year before, Colleen's crew raised about $20,000 for their charity. So they were the number one or the best boat.
Our daughter Colleen, who just turned 26 about a week ago, was born with cystic fibrosis. And my wife and I have always looked for ways to get involved and to raise money to hopefully find a cure one day. One of the things that we do is chair the Great Strides Walk in Baker Park every year. And during COVID, the walk was canceled for obvious reasons. So during that time, friends of ours got together and said, hey, how can we keep Colleen's crew alive in front of everybody's mind? So they decided to put a boat in this exhibit, and it's been great.
My foundation that I'm representing is Friends of the Child Advocacy Center. What they do is they step in and support the CAC in areas that they can't necessarily directly have an impact. And what the CAC does is support children that have been abused one way or another and provide them a safe haven. Last year was our first year. We took second place. Something I'm proud of, something I hope that we can build on. We've had some great partners within the community, businesses that have stepped up and contributed directly to this event and directly to the pinwheel. We hope to gather some more. Any boat on this creek is well deserving. Any boat. These are all good business owners and members of the community that have taken their time to help put this together and give back.
So the event, when it started in 2016, was co-founded by me with Kyle Thomas, and we've evolved with a much larger support team over these 7 years. There are probably well over 140 different volunteers among the 26 or so teams that are building boats this year. So the building process for these boats is actually fairly complicated in the sense that in addition to just making them look really pretty with interesting lights, they have to be engineered for what we call Arctic Creek sailing. This is a very shallow creek. We can't have deep keels, and yet we have to find a way to keep these boats upright in 50-mile-an-hour windstorms. So we've evolved a lot of techniques with hanging cement buckets under the boat, fancy bridles. 450-pound weights are placed in the creek in front of and behind each boat to prevent the boats from moving. It's something that we've learned by a lot of error over the years, but I think we've got it. It's not perfect, but most boats make it through. The boats are lit up 24/7 for 3 months. So no matter what time of day you come down along the creek, and it's free, you can see something. And while you're down here, there's shopping, there's restaurants and bars, and it really just one more exciting thing about Frederick. I mean, it has so many things to offer, especially during the holiday season and beyond. So this is just another reason to come. I'd like to invite everyone who's watching this to come out and see the boats for sailing through the winter solstice. Most boat parades only last, a day or two. This is an amazing event, so come down, enjoy it, and enjoy the rest of Frederick.
Well, it is time for a quick break. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to County Perspective. I'm your host, Brandon Rosa. Before we look at how Frederick County Public Libraries combat learning loss, let's head over to Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center to see who our Pet of the Week is.
Say hello to Moon. This handsome blue brindle and white pit bull mix is the newest addition to FCAC's adoption floor. You won't see him, however, if you're just walking through. Shelter life has been a little more stressful for Moon than some of our other dogs, so he lives in a quieter area where he's able to relax a little easier. Moon is a bit of a shy guy, but he perks right up when he hears his name or the magic word, treat. He is friendly, walks nicely on a leash, and is quickly mastering sit. He has been a little fearful of other dogs, and we are looking for a family with children ages 13 and older for Moon. For more information on Moon or FCAC's adoption process, call 301-600-1546.
Ever since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, students across the country and right here in Frederick County have struggled with learning loss. Many students need face-to-face support from their teachers to learn in their classes. New studies show that students need help with social learning, mathematics, and reading. Frederick County Public Libraries wants to help. Let's find out how FCPL is using the resources to tackle learning loss.
Recently, a study was released by the National Assessment for Educational Progress, which said that literacy skills among school-age students are at a 20-year low. Another study found that elementary-age students are missing important reading benchmarks. The New York Times has called this a literacy crisis. Among all demographics, we know that children and families are struggling with the negative effects of pandemic learning loss, but particularly among Black and Hispanic students, students with learning differences, and those with limited financial support are falling the furthest behind. When students are behind in school, it's increasingly difficult for them to catch up, and it can have generational consequences. We know that public libraries level the playing field when it comes to access to information and opportunity. Frederick County Public Libraries has an important role to play in reversing the negative effects of pandemic learning loss.
I think one of the reasons I moved to Frederick actually was because of the library. When I interviewed for my job, they gave me a tour of the library and I fell in love with it. My children have been coming to the library since Babies and Books. And so we've utilized early literacy programs as well as many of the other programs that take place.
And it's fun, it's like an indoor playground for literacy.
So for our family, one of the services that we utilize most often is story time, and oftentimes on weekends there are family events.
We were able to also just take part in some of the online programming that was offered and even check out books physically and do the pickup. So it was an opportunity to give us just more chances to read.
The pandemic really did a number on everyone. We're finding that, kids are not up to the standards that maybe they were before the pandemic. Reading and math seem to be the heaviest losses that we've had so far, as well as social emotional learning. That's certainly being addressed in the schools, but we do all we can to support that here at the library.
And so one of the things that we're really beginning to see is kids are behind socially because they haven't been exposed as much. Their parents are also very strained because they're working from home while trying to take care of young kids, which is impossible, as those with young kids know.
A lot of them coming right out of the Frederick County Public School system. We're having a lot of trouble, still having a lot of trouble catching up, staying focused, being on time, just those little soft skills that they probably would have gotten had they been at school. But I think the pandemic really played a role in where they are and how far they are behind right now.
So, some of the behaviors that we set in story time, when we're counting along with kids, when we're, physically showing them the words, even just showing them a book, it's still getting them encouraged to continue that sort of discovery and learning.
One of the things that is really critical for early childhood is learning through play. And the libraries in Frederick County do a great job of building integrated play spaces surrounded by books so kids have access to them. And so families who maybe don't have funding to enroll their kid in extracurricular activities have the ability to come in, have their children play, and they're surrounded by books and they have access to free resources for their family.
I think what people should know when they come to the library is that the space here is really intentional, that a lot of what we do is well researched. We're constantly professionally developing, exchanging trainings with one another, talking to other branches, talking to other library systems, even across the country and across the world, to really learn what is most current in engaging children and families.
We're kicking off a fundraising campaign to raise $100,000 to support the children and families in our community, and we need your help. With your support, we plan to build and expand our innovative early literacy play and learning spaces in our libraries. These spaces are designed specifically for public libraries and carefully curated to support early literacy skill development among our youngest library customers and reluctant readers. Will you support your library today by giving the most generous gift you can?
In this part of the show, we're going to take a look at the calendar of events to see what Frederick County departments and divisions are hosting in the next few weeks to keep you and your family and friends engaged. If you would like to find out more about virtual events and programs and activities that are going on in the county, visit frederickcountymd.gov. It's almost time to wrap up this episode of County Perspective, so let me tell you some final good news before we go. I was a drum major for justice, peace, and righteousness, said Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is Monday, January 16th. The holiday honors the achievements of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King was a Baptist minister who advocated for nonviolent resistance against racial segregation. His work helped to draw attention to the need for equity and inclusion in our day-to-day lives. Our community recognizes the holiday as a day of service. It is a day on, not a day off. Winter is here. During this time of the year, it is important to remember these safety tips. If it is snowing, do not drive on the road unless it is an emergency. Listen to the radio before and during the snowstorm to stay up to date on conditions. If you must be on the road and you find yourself behind a snowplow, stay at least 2 car lengths back for every 20 miles per hour you are traveling. For more tips like these to keep you safe this winter, go to frederickcountymd.gov/snow. Remember, if you see damage to the road or your road isn't plowed yet, you can report it on our FCG Fix-It app or go online to frederickcountymd.gov/FCG-Fix-It to report what you see. Did you know that January is National Walk Your Dog Month? It is important to show some love to our four-legged friends and take them on a walk. Frederick County Parks and Recreation has several dog parks around the county to let your dog get some much-needed exercise. To find where the dog parks are, just visit recreator.com. Okay, everyone, that is all the time we have left for this episode of County Perspective. If you want to stay up to date on important news and events going on in the county, follow Frederick County on social media. We'll see you next time with a fresh look from a county perspective. Goodbye, guys.